Welcome everybody to the discussion panel. And I'm here with Alejandro Vazquez, Marta Bitar, and Michael Nicklas. Good morning, everybody. So I'll pass on the word so everybody can spare 5 minutes, and then we'll dig deep in talking about customer relationship and product-led future. Why don't we start with Marta, please?
Hi, Marta. All right, sounds good. Hi everyone. I am Marta Bitar, and I have been working on Flowdesk, a new email marketing tool that makes it super easy to design emails people love to get. We launched about a year and a week ago, self-onboarding, and it's been just growing really rapidly, which has been fantastic because most of that growth has been customer-led. And yeah, we just reached 5 million in annual recurring revenue, mostly through customer-led growth. All right, I'm gonna popcorn Alejandro.
Great, thank you. Hi everyone, this is Alejandro. I'm co-founder of Nubem Shop, or Tienda Nube for Spanish-speaking countries. Nubem Shop is the largest commerce platform for SMBs in Latin America. We enable merchants to set up, manage, and promote a digital business on every possible sales channel, mainly an online store. We have 60,000 paying customers, from entrepreneurs, SMBs, to large brands from different verticals of the retail segment, and considering pure digital businesses and also offline going to online. Those merchants sold more than $1 billion the last 12 months through their e-commerce mainly, and that's more than a sale per second in our platform. We started in Argentina 8 years ago, but today we are mainly a Brazilian company. We are VC funded, and we have a team of almost 250 people with offices in Sao Paulo, Belo Horizonte, Bragança, Buenos Aires, and Mexico. And our purpose is to help every merchant on that digital journey of their business. Michael, please.
Please, Michael.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here and participating on this panel. My name is Michael Nicklaus. I'm a partner at Valor Capital. Valor is a US-based fund focusing primarily on Latin America, but especially on Brazil. We're currently investing out of funds 3 and 4. We're in fund 3 is an early stage fund, so just over $200 million, basically focused on Series Seed to Series B. Our sweet spot is really the Series A, so we write checks in the order of $3 to $5 million. We're generalist investors, so we invest in a number of areas, so health tech, fintech, education, logistics, mobility. We recently did a few deals in ag tech. But software as a service, especially enterprise SaaS, is something that's very dear to our hearts, and we've made a number of investments in that area. Total just under 60 investments across the 4 funds, and over 45 of those in Brazil. So even though we invest throughout the region, Brazil is really the key focus for us. Our headquarters is in New York City, and we also have an office in the Valley. And we're currently looking for good opportunities in the SaaS space.
Michael, and let me introduce myself. I'm Augusto. I'm the president of Stone Payment. Stone is a Brazilian company that started operating as a simple payment point of sale device company, and we've evolved into a fully integrated software and financial products company. We started operating in 2014. We IPO'd at NASDAQ, and we are currently expanding into value-added services. Today, we are a team of over 6,000 people, and we're living through interesting times. where because of this world pandemic that's happening, consumer behaviors change all around the world. In different markets, people are becoming more digital. They've been forced to become more digital. They're increasing purchases online as well as financial services. So I'll start going around with a few questions. And Michael, in times like this, what do you look in terms of product-led growth and customer-centric companies when you look at investing in Latin America?
So I think our criteria has stayed the same, but I think the pandemic has sort of increased the speed at which people are adopting and depending on digital processes, right? It's one of the things that has been a pleasant surprise to us was how quickly the portfolio companies were able to make a shift. If you think about it, 1 week, there's 200, 300 people across 2 or 3 stories or 2 or 3 floors in a building, and they're communicating, they're using tools, but at the same time, there's all the informal, the water cooler talk, people getting together for lunch, the cafezinhos, the in-person meetings. And then the next week, literally everybody's at home. And so I think that just emphasizes the role that software is going to play. And the fact that our portfolio and other companies were able to make this transition, I think speaks to the tool sets and I'd say the penetration of the tools that enables people to work remotely. I would also add that because of the pandemic, these types of processes have become more important, and I think people are accentuating and using the tools, relying on the tools in order to facilitate and structure the communication, which otherwise would have been occurring in other ways. So in terms of what we look for in these companies, we're looking for companies that have to make an investment as companies that understand their customer and are able to translate the customer needs into the product. And I think as this conversation flows today, we'll see what the customer centricity means and product-led growth means. But at the end of the day, it's really being responsive to your customer, understanding exactly what features and functions they need to be successful in their business.
Marta, why don't you share a little bit how does customer centricity works and drives product development and the services you sell at your company?
So we've been pretty customer centric from the very beginning. One of the things that we noticed, one of the shifts that we noticed was that in the past you would have the executive making the final buying decision when it comes to technology. And a lot of times they would make that decision before even seeing the product, right? So they would talk to a sales rep, and then that transitioned to less sales, more product-led. Like think of Dropbox, for example, where the user would almost attempt to skip that salesperson, and they would want to try the product and see for themselves if that was something that they would use. And then you started seeing freemiums, right, and paywalls and gamification in the product. And we noticed a shift very early on when we were building Flowdesk. And it is that the user now, it is not only the end user that is making the decision, but they also want to see what others are saying about it. And they want to talk to other users. They want to see how they're successful with it, what are they struggling with, right? So we built our entire strategy around that customer experience, right? We knew that if we built an ideal experience for that ideal customer, then they would share that experience. And we have been marketing mostly to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, and Gen Z is already, like 50% of that generation is already entrepreneur, and they're running an online business. And if you think about it, this is a digitally native generation, right? So along to what Michael was saying. So they're used to talking to each other online all the time, and they buy based on what others are saying and sharing. So every single part of our product we built based on that customer feedback. I can share more.
Yeah, excellent. Alejandro, could you share a little bit about, from your point of view, your company is growing significantly over this period. I mean, it's really accelerated. Why don't you share a little bit how you've seen the growth through this period, and what difference has your merchant-centric approach differentiated from your competitors?
Sure. Well, first of all, as we all saw on the last months, we saw an acceleration of e-commerce. And what's interesting is that we saw like two trends or type of customers. We have our old customers, we can say, from the previous years, which accelerated during the pandemic because they closed the offline stores, or they just switched the demand because of the consumers were online. And we also saw new customers switching from offline to online in a question of hours, and literally hours. We saw businesses launching in 1-2 days at the most. And to share a stat, historically, the stores with less than 30 days, we have a free trial of 30 days. Stores with less than 30 days represented just 1% of the total GMV from our customers. But during the pandemic, that number grew to 10%. So literally, the demand shifted from offline to online. And that's something we saw the importance of giving a product which is really, really easy to use, which you can literally, in a couple of hours, launch your online store. That's something that saved a lot of businesses in this pandemic. Talking about the different differentiators we have, I would say we have like three, which are the most critical. One of them, this is previous, the differentiators. We have a challenge here, which is we talk about product layer, we talk about customer centricity, but in our case, it's really important to understand who our customer is. I mean, for every company, but we talk about merchants, and we could be talking about small entrepreneurs who sell maybe who are part-time entrepreneurs selling 1,000 reais per month. But we also work with businesses selling millions of reais per month. So we need to understand which is our focus, and also considering the geographies. I mean, I mentioned that before. We started in Argentina, but today we consider us a Brazilian company working also in Argentina and Brazil. So once we understand our customer, today it's the SMB in general for the retail business, we identify like three main differentiators for them. The first one, of course, is the core product. I mean, if we don't have a core product solving the main needs for someone who wants to start selling online, that's the basic, the arroz com feijão, as we say in Brazil. And that's related to the easy of use of the platform with a lot of autonomy, not depending on anyone to build that e-commerce. That's the first one. But as we know, every merchant, every SMB, every retailer has a lot of needs, specific needs for every vertical, and it's impossible to attend or satisfy all those demands with our core product, with our product team. So that's the second differentiator, which is related to the ecosystem we are building, the partner ecosystem we are building, so our partners can integrate or develop on top of Nubank Shop and solve the specific needs. Let me give you an example of that. We have a lot of merchants who are selling digital goods, right? I mean, you don't need to deliver that product, physically deliver that product. So on top of Nubank Shop, a partner created an application, like an app for like the App Store of iPhone, where you can plug and play that solution, so you can give a better experience for digital goods if you are selling those kind of products. So now we unlock that universe of merchants that we didn't give a great experience before. So that's related to the ecosystem we are building with partners from shipping, payments ecosystem, ERPs, marketing tools, among others, right? On the last one, I mean, we're talking about a lot about digitalizing your business, but we know it's not easy for everyone. We are talking about millions of SMBs in Latin America. So how can we build a product which scale, but at the same time that you have the support needed to have the confidence to do that shift to digital business? So customer support, it's crucial for us. It's one of the differentiators. And we have like 2 shops for the customer service team. It's not only about helping each merchant on their need, doubt, problem, whatever it is, but it's also to gather information which help us improve our product. So I can expand on that a little more later if you want to.
And here at Stone, we think pretty much in the lines of the way you indicated. We see ourselves as someone that wants to help merchants, specifically SMBs, sell more, manage better their business, and grow. And what we're seeing is the world was becoming more digital. The world was becoming more mobile. If we look at what's happening in the past 5-10 years, e-commerce was growing. But what we saw is, a big boom, a major growth in terms of demand and change of behavior. And what we did here is we successfully launched during this period several new products. We expanded our digital account to include payment links, whereby you could send a link to collect money from a sale that you had done before, and through a WhatsApp, a social media. We've added services of loyalty programs. We've done, investments in companies that manage and help merchants manage, because they were used to selling. Most of our merchants, they sell offline. So you need to open the door, and the customer needs to get in. One day you're locked down, no one walks in. And what we saw is very few people were able to sell online. Very few people had the minimum knowledge and know-how of what's a social media. Few people had an Instagram account or a active WhatsApp account. So we focused in helping merchants become more digital. We created a website called Compre, where we could actually help merchants through training programs, through tools, a set of products that will help them understand how they can create an account, how can they make a advertisement, how they can make the same advertising in the several social media accounts, and how can they manage, posting and collections and hits and sales. So, this has been a very thrilling period for us here. Marta, did you launch any new services or products that, actually helped merchants during this period?
Yeah, we didn't launch any new paid products. We did see a huge spike in growth. We were growing at 20% already month over month, and we started seeing a spike of a couple more points there for pretty much the same reasons. What we did notice was that our customer base, we had seen a bit of a different story. For us, a lot of them already were online. They were already operating online services or products, but this pandemic hit, and they had to change the way that the business was operating. And for a lot of them, even though they were already operating businesses online, they had a photography business, right? So they would book something online, and then they would have to show up in person to execute. And they were struggling with that communication, right? Because these were unprecedented times. People were having all these questions, and I think they were in a way frozen, wondering like, what else should I say and how should I say it? And we saw a lot of companies making guides, right? Like, hey, here's a guide on how to do these, and here's a guide. And then what we heard was that they were overwhelmed with these guides, and what they really needed was just more people on their team to handle these, and in big part the communication. So what we did was we partnered with a few current customers who were already creating their own templates, right, to communicate with their customers, with their partners, talking about, hey, here are the things that we're doing to make sure that you're safe, or hey, here are new hours, here's our new way of booking us, and then we release these templates. So if you think about it, what we do is email marketing, right? So they're already logging into the platform to send emails to their customers. So now when they log in and they go to the template gallery, they see these templates, right? Communication templates, so that they can navigate these difficult communications with their clients. And these became our top used templates for a few months. I would say they're probably still among our top templates. And that just shows the need for more relevant and actionable pieces, right, of help.
A final question for you, Alejandro, and then I'll open up for each one of us, and starting with Michael to ask questions to any of us. Alejandro, you seem to have a company that really listens to customers, and you're developing something unique with several differentiators. How do you create in such a short period of time a company with this culture that is customer-centric, that's client-driven, and everybody listening to customers to make sure that everything that's being developed actually has a market for it?
Good question. Well, I think it's in our DNA in terms of the founders. When we started, was in our DNA to be close to our merchants and understand what they need. So I think that's something you can communicate and make sure everyone does the same thing. But I think the great challenge when you are more than 200, I can't imagine with 6,000 people as you are. The challenge is to make it a process, to make it systematically, and that I think that's the key. And how you make that, I think it depends on each company. Today, in our case, we have we have specific teams. We have a data team. We are a very data-driven company across the teams, not only in product, but also in the commercial and marketing teams.
But Alejandro, to be close to the client, what exactly they do to be close to the client every day, every minute?
Well, we have it's a complement. From the data perspective, it's to understand specifically the data, which tells you the what happened, right? I mean, it's about the past. Then we have a research team, which is focused on the why that happened. And that team needs to talk to customers, needs to talk to partners, because you can't get the why without talking to them. But it's not only data teams and research teams. Then all the company needs to talk to the merchants. As I said before, the support team got every conversation we have. It's an opportunity to understand what we can improve in the product, what we can communicate better in our landing pages, what issues, bugs, problems we need to solve with high priority, because it's taken a lot of questions from our merchants, complaints. But also we have different routines. For instance, we ask everyone to have at least a couple of customers on WhatsApp. We have beta test groups on WhatsApp. We have, so you can share something. You can ask them about not only a feature you want to launch, but also about a communication you are going to launch, and ask for feedback. You can create that relationship. Even though we are working for thousands of customers, it's really, really useful to have that feedback, not only from your team, but also from a couple of merchants. And something we did, not now in the pandemic, but before that, we have a program called the Merchants in Residence. So we have a couple of merchants working at our offices. They have their stock there. They were the inventory, doing all their job there. So we went for lunch. We see them working. They have a question and they ask us in the office, talking to our product team. And also we do the same thing. We ask them for feedback. So you can create those habits, those routines, but it's key that you make sure that that's part of the process, because otherwise it's impossible to scale that.
Excellent. Everybody, great experience where you invite merchants and they'll feel you get, free research, free advice. I mean, it's I think this is something whenever the weather is better, people should definitely think about it. Michael, why don't I pass the floor to you?
So this is a question for Martha, but both Augusto and Alejandro can jump in. I was just thinking a little bit, some of the KPIs and key performance indices or indicators that, as VCs we track when we look at SaaS companies, and especially product led growth companies. So for instance, things like customer acquisition costs, which is often very different in a product led growth company versus a sales led company. Or, another KPI that's super important to us is net dollar retention, which is once you've entered into an enterprise or a small and medium business, what is the growth year over year of the size of that account, the account value. And we've seen that companies that are product led tend to have the ability to land and expand. They get a foot in the door and then they're able to grow the total value there. The net dollar retention is positive over time. I was just wondering, with you, Alejandro and Martha, who are on the ground with SaaS companies, what KPIs are important to you, and how do you look at that customer acquisition costs and net dollar retention, et cetera?
So for us, customer acquisition cost is pretty low because so we have grown. So we're actually bootstrapped, right? We are very early on. We knew our customer. We had founder market fit. We knew what we needed to build. So so we optimized for customer time instead of investor time. But we grew. So we grew without a sales team, without a marketing team, because we created. So if you think about email marketing, there are several embedded viral loops, right, that already happen.
Right.
So when a customer comes in and they're successful in finding a template that they love and editing it and sending it, their entire audience gets exposed to that result, right? So then someone in their audience sees the email and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks really cool. I want to build a cool email too. I want to make it beautiful. And I don't have a design team or a marketing team or a tech team. So if they can do it, I can probably do it too. Probably because they also saw the transition. So what we focused on was, how do we optimize? How do we map every single area where existing customers are interacting with new customers, and then how do we optimize that? So that's probably our biggest KPI, right? Finding those customer interactions and then optimizing them. So what is the percentage of leads that we get from these email footer, for example, right? Today versus like after the optimizations. So CAC is very low. We do track retention and we do track churn, but because we've been, we released a year ago, we haven't released new products or upsells. So we haven't done anything to get more revenue per customer or increase that LTV yet. But we also haven't had a churn problem. So we actually have lower churn than the industry average churn, probably because of how, so one of the things that we've seen there that has really worked as well is that customers are pretty much involved in every single part of the life cycle of a new customer. So from the proliferation, like from the expansion stage, like new customers are finding about Flowdesk from existing customers, right? To the adoption. So we don't do the tutorials ourselves. Our customers create tutorials, and then we build our onboarding flows around those customer tutorials. Then when they have an issue, we do have support inbox, but over 30% of tickets get resolved before they come to the support inbox, because we also have a community on Facebook and they help each other out. So I want to say that that's probably part of why we haven't had to focus on that KPI, but it's something that we monitor all the time. So I would say probably that just retention, customer retention overall, and the viral loop pieces. Yeah, I'd say that's, and the growth. I mean, for us, it's been mostly like we're new, right? And it's a competitive market, so we need to grow as fast as possible. So growth would be our number one, viral loops would be the second one, and the retention would be the third.
Good. Alejandro.
From our side, we have like three main KPIs, which is revenue, GMV, which is the sales of our merchants, and number of customers. Then, of course, you have to double click in terms of revenue. We look at transactional and subscription revenue because our model is hybrid. Then you look at, of course, at average revenue per user. Of course, when we talk about cost of acquisition, we look at the different kind of customers we have. As I mentioned before, we have from entrepreneurs to large merchants or large brands. So the cost of acquiring each kind of customer is different, and the lifetime value associated with that is too. So we need to segment that funnel to understand the unit economics. The cost of maintenance of those customers, it's also different. For instance, support is for everyone, but if you have a success team managing a portfolio of customers, the cost is higher. But you need to understand where's the sweet spot for your business to have a good relationship between cost of acquisition and the lifetime value, right? So those are pretty much the main KPIs we have, and of course churn, but it's related to lifetime value, right?
At Stone, Michael, we have a KPI that is present in everybody's scorecard, and that's NPS. Yes, we have financial indicators, GMV and revenue, but net performance score is something that we track daily, monthly. It's something that we're paranoid about because the customer is the reason of our existence. We need to be tracking everything that's happening in the various contacts, in the various contact areas. So we're paranoid for that. And when it comes to net dollar retention, we've created an internal index, which we call it here PPI, which is Product Penetration Index. Not only we have the acquiring products, but we also have our financial and banking products and software. So we keep track of how many products each customer has. And what we're seeing is as the PPI index goes up, retention also goes up. So you create stickiness, you create what merchants want is someone they can rely on. They want confidence. And once you start adding new products and supporting them, and they feel that you're actually concerned about making sure that they're growing, they're selling, and if they sell you earn as well. So it's a win-win situation. So PPI is something that we started tracking and is a good performance indicator.
Great.
Any questions to any of us?
I was curious about how you create that customer-centric mindset in a company of 6,000 people, with a core on the product, right? So how do you build that?
Yeah, we're before being customer-centric, before being product-centric, we have been customer-centric. So everything talking to the customer. And it all boils down to your culture. we've created a culture where one of the values is the customer, and not the customer having the reason, or customer being what's important. The customer is the reason of our existence. So above all, everybody has to talk to merchants. And within our culture, we've created several rituals that we follow to express to everybody that they have to enjoy and have the ability to meet customers, deal with customers, extract information from customers. And let me share a few of those. 2 times a year, it takes place what we call the Green Wave. The Green Wave is a day where, half period, everybody from the company is out on the streets with a green shirt, and they're visiting merchants on the offline world, or they're calling merchants in the online space to make sure that, people understand. And here we're talking about existing customer, prospects, churned customer. Everybody's out there to listen. And then we go back, we have a ceremony where we share all that gathering. That's one ritual. The other one is every Friday, we sit down with the team. We have a staff meeting where we share performance and admin stuff. But we also have a session where we invite customers, or we share recordings from from our client contact center, where people share, merchants share their experience, either good or bad, with the company, and we talk about it later. So very important, creating the habit of getting people to talk about. So I would say that it's embedded in the DNA, it's embedded in our culture. And during the interviewing process, we make specifically, reference to, do you like customers? Do you enjoy spending time with customers? And everybody that wants a job says, yes, I'm very good at customers. So the next question is, please, could you share a few opportunities where you actually performed in client relationship, or you enjoyed? Give us examples where you've been able to extract information that were helpful. I mean, share with us moments where you've expressed that you actually learned from merchants, or you have good ability in spending time with them. So all goes down for me, example from senior management to the whole team, and creating rituals that will consolidate the culture, even when you're in a high growth environment. How about you, Marta? How are you doing with culture in your company?
We talk to customers all the time. I think it's something that we do on the daily. We call it our workout routine, and we have daily reps of several activities that we do every single day. And like I said, we have a Facebook group. So one of the coolest things that we do is we make sure that we're always listening, because I think talking to customers is one thing, and asking why is very important, because then you can find out what they really need and not what they think they need and what they tell you they need. But I don't think that anything really replaces being able to see customers talking to customers when you're not part of the conversation. And from the developer team to our support team to founders, like, we're always tuning in. And like I said, we had founder market fit, right? We also are our customers, so it becomes a lot easier to. We're friends with our customers, and then we're starting to develop a couple of more like larger scale routines as we continue to grow the company. So 2 of the things that we've done, one, we during our weekly all hands, we have someone from the team present a customer story. So they pick a customer that they really, really connect with, and they share just like day in the life, like what they do, why they chose Flowdesk, and how they're using Flowdesk for their business. And then they share with the entire company. And then the other one, and by the way, that's been just fantastic, because not only is it really bringing that data across the entire team, but it's really fun just seeing why people connect with other people, and how our team feels about our customers. And then the other piece is we really, really went through an exercise of aligning our business goals to our customers' goals. So now every single team, every single person at the company is incentivized to make the customer successful. And then the last one is whenever possible, we hire from our customer base. And I mean, we serve entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are among the best people to hire if they're up for getting that job. And that's been just wild for us because it's almost embedded already, that customer knowledge.
Good. We're running, I think, out of time now. Let me share and hear a little bit of some closing remarks. Alejandro, could you finish your closing remarks and tell us a little bit about what you've learned from customers during this pandemic?
Yeah, well, what we learned during this pandemic, I think it was critical to be very close, even closer to our merchants. I mean, they were in the middle of the crisis, not only health, but also economic crisis for them. So a lot of things we do, a lot of things we educate and communicate to all our customer base was based on what we were learning with those customers that we talked to, because no one knew what had to be done, because it was something extremely different from what we experienced before. So that communication via email, WhatsApp, calls was crucial, and they really help us understand how to help all the rest of our merchant base from the product perspective, but also in terms of communication and giving tips on how to deal with this situation. So that's something we learn and reinforce during this period.
And Michael, you mentioned at your opening statement some learnings. Why don't you share again with us?
Well, I think certainly the transition has just accelerated the use of these tools, and tools that enable the end user specifically. It empowers the individual to be able to communicate and to structure processes. We've seen this with one of our companies, Pipify, which enables workflow and business process modeling, but it works at the work group level. An individual can take it, they can start to model processes that they have to do, and we've often seen that they then use that as a front end to some of the existing systems in the company, because these are tools that they can educate themselves on, they can test before they buy, and that are very flexible in terms of how the user is able to adapt to them. So I think the key word really here is flexibility and empowering the individual user to be able to connect and share effectively with the different tool sets.
Excellent. And Marta, any other comments?
We learned, we had two main learnings. One is that you have to be nimble and you have to be ready to adapt. And we made a few changes right away, and they resonated very well with our customer base. And then the second one is that our customers are so strong, and we learned the power of community and how not only were they very resilient in making sure that they stay afloat as a business, but even the businesses that were going through a hard time, we saw them creating like fundraising to help other businesses who were struggling even more, and creating scholarships and creating free courses so that they could help other businesses nail like some of their initial monetizing strategies. So that's something that I guess it was not surprising because we had seen that power of community, but it was really just huge and inspiring to see.
Yeah, and if I may add, what we learned here, in addition to what you've said, is the power of listening to customers. Throughout the pandemic, by talking to customers, we're able to develop new products. We're able to improve products and services. So if I could recommend anything, we're finishing or we're going through a pandemic that will hopefully easy out, and we'll get into a new lifestyle, or a new normal, as they call it. It's very important for people to listen to their customers and understand what you need to change in terms of your process, of your business model, of your services, because it's going to be a different world. consumers have adapted to a new environment with new attitude and new consumer behavior. And whoever is able to understand that and react fast has a higher chance of being more successful. I think, guys, with that, we end our panel. I thank you very much, Alejandro, Marta, and Michael, and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Alejandro.
everyone.
Hi, everyone.